في أكبر الكتب.
Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lambcast. This is episode 822, and I'm your host, Richard Kirkham. While Spider-Man, The Odyssey, and Toy Story 5 are eating up the box office, we're taking a break from new films to talk about other cinema-related topics. Maybe a set of films or some movie stars or directors. Heck, we could even be talking about your favorite movie, Candy. It's a roll your own top 5 episode, and anything cinema related is fair game. I have no idea what our guests picked to talk about. They don't tell me until you hear it as well. I can make some guesses, but we'll find out soon enough. But first, let's find out who's picking topics this week. If we end up talking about short films, documentaries, or indie movies, it's because our resident champion of those subjects is Nicole Ayers, and she's with us this week. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Richard, I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Oh, that sounds so familiar, and I can't place it. Damn it.
I'll tell
Hey,
you after the exits question.
excellent. If we find ourselves immersed in jungles of the South Pacific or Brazil, and there are mercenaries or terrorists taking prisoners or fighting drug lords, then we know that Matthew Poirier has not strayed far from his native hunting grounds. But who knows? Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Richard. I'm excited to share my list with everybody. Hopefully, it will give people something to watch if they've got some time to kill on Tubi or something like that, as opposed to going out to the theater for the Odyssey or Spider-Man.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, on the Roll Your Own Top 5 episodes, the guests establish the topics, and then we share in a round-robin format. So we're going to go ahead and get started here first by having Nicole tell us what her topic list is, and then share the first thing on her list that she wants to talk about. Nicole, after you.
I will be talking about popular movies that I did not enjoy watching.
Oh,
And
oh.
I am ranking them in the order of my willingness to give the movie another shot and rewatch the movie.
So the first
As
one you're going to talk about is the one that least offended you, and the one that you talk about at the end is the one that most irritated you?
uh I was going to say, and it's like a double. I initially ranked them in the order of like my least favorite, with the last one being the one that I liked the least.
Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna go with the first one's gonna be one that I I would watch. I would watch. But it's like number 5 on my least to like I don't dislike it as much as I dislike the other movies that I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
And so uh this fifth one I'll say is it's like a horror slash dystopia movie that may not be popular on its own, but it comes from a popular franchise. And that movie is The Forever Purge. I saw it once. I don't really need to see it again. But if I had to rewatch it in preparation for the next Purge that's supposed to be coming out, I would watch it. But I think it's one of the corniest movies of all of the Purge movies that have come out. so far. So I wasn't entertained when I watched it.
Have you been a fan of the other Purge movies?
I've enjoyed the other Purge movies, and I liked the one that came out before that, and I was fine with the previous two. This one just seemed a bit forced and problematic, I'll say.
Well, I got to tell you, I have not seen any of the Purge movies. I know the general premise that they started with, but I do think that they changed it somewhere along the way because I've heard people talk about kind of the shifting emphasis that they've had in the story. What's different about this particular version of the Purge story?
It just seems like they it stopped. It's not really a movie, which I have another movie on my list that might fall into this category that I don't like, that might fall into this category as well. But it seems like it gets away from like a movie franchise, and it tries to incorporate things that don't necessarily need to be in a movie. Like it wants to, or at least that's how I perceived it. I think it wants to make certain comments on other things that are happening in like society or the world, and it's just like, can we just kind of stick to the original, like to the program, like
I
already?
see.
And like just I just want to watch the movie. Like just
You
and
think they're
then
straining for relevance and making
yeah,
contemporary commentary,
and
and
because of
they
that,
miss the point of what
yeah.
the original films were in the first place.
And then because of that, it's also like I don't really enjoy it because I'm like, okay, am I supposed to like read something into this scene or not? And then I also think that the kills weren't as uh exciting either. But I think Lisa might she might be like a good person to like assess the since she's into horror
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. When did this film come out? Forever Purge.
I think it came out in 2021. I might be wrong though.
Okay.
No, yeah, I
I was
just
just
looked
one.
it up. Yeah, that's correct. 'Cause I
Oh,
like
okay.
Richard, I've never seen any of these either. I think I'm a little bit squeamish when it comes to movies, and it looks like these Purge movies might be a little bit like I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think the way they advertise them makes me think that it might make my squeamishness, it might be stuff that I don't necessarily want to watch. So I've never seen them before, but I had this one confused with another one that I didn't really like the Forever Purge. I guess it came out and I missed it that it had come out because I had it confused with the one where there's like a Secret Service guy who's like leading somebody through the purge or so, like an election kind of thing.
There
Um,
was an election. There's the Purge election that
oh,
came out in 2016.
okay. Yeah, so that's why I confused that one with this one. So this was one that they kind of slipped by my radar as well. But yeah, so I've always been curious about them. But again, like that squeamishness has made me afraid to. I don't know if I'm right that they can be brutal, or maybe I'm wrong that maybe I just thought that, and maybe they're not that bad.
They are brutal, but I've been able to stomach them more than some of the Final Destination movies.
Mm.
Um, so I watched them. I think for me, like I don't like horror, right? So I would prefer to watch my horror during the daytime so that I can kind of digest whatever I saw and then get on with my day. But um yeah, I
Well, that's a
don't
good place to
know.
start, you
Have a
know.
beer, like have a couple of beers.
Chill out after the movie and before you have to go to bed and think about it in your dreams. I gotcha. Well, Matthew, what's your subject going to be for today's discussion?
So I decided to spotlight the films of Cynthia Rothrock, who is she's very popular direct-to-video action star. Her stuff is mostly big in like the late 80s, early 90s. She started out in Hong Kong, but she's a really accomplished martial artist. And I just, she's someone who I think to some extent she may have broken direct-to-video containment that like maybe the greater world knows her. But a lot of times I'll see like, these kind of clickbaity magazines like Empire or Looper or something like that post their top 10 female action stars of all time. And I never see her on the list. And I felt like, okay, I should give her, use this as a platform to kind of give her a little bit more of a spotlight.
Oh, I like that. And I have heard of her. I don't know if I've seen a film that she's been in. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't dip into the direct-to-video as much as you probably would be expecting from somebody who's a film aficionado. But like I said, I am familiar with the name. I know that she's a martial arts star in these kinds of films. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that her name has come up. And I'm glad that you're going to do this. Now, are you going to give us like a list of her five best? Is that what it was?
So my five favorites. So I'm always
Five
cautious.
favorites.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I always find that if I say best, it invites more argument than if, which I guess is maybe part of the point is to have some
Yeah,
argument,
that's
but
okay.
it can offend people a little bit. I think one of the things, because she got her start in Hong Kong, and I think my list is not as heavy. It's only got one of her Hong Kong films, which I'll mention here in a second. And I think people listening would probably want more of the Hong Kong stuff and maybe less of the direct-to-video stuff. The other interesting thing about her, so she was on the PM Entertainment podcast, and PM Entertainment is they were a low budget direct to video, direct to cable studio in the '90s who put out some really fun stuff, especially for the action stuff that they put out. But when she was on there, she mentioned that while she was making this direct to video stuff in the early '90s, she worked with an agency that was trying to push her to the next level to get her into the big screen roles. And so they started turning down projects. So her direct to video oeuvre isn't quite as prolific as, say, some of the other DTV stars like a Don the Dragon Wilson or something like that. And then kind of what happens is when she realizes she wasn't getting those parts, those big screen parts, it didn't happen for her. I know one of the things was she was supposed to do a Sylvester Stallone movie that just never happened. And then she also was on a pilot called Irresistible Force with Stacy Keach that didn't get picked up. It was supposed to get picked up by CBS and they just ran it as a TV movie. And so by the time she kind of came back to the direct-to-video world, it was sort of like the early 2000s where the big studios were involved like Sony, but also big names like Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme had fallen down to the direct-to-video world. So the parts weren't there for her as much anymore. But in that early late 80s, early 90s period, she put out some really great stuff. And I mean, she's still working today. She put out her own Western a couple of years ago called Black Creek, which she crowdfunded and was able to fund herself and get made. And she wants to make a sequel for that. So she's still working today. But these older ones, you could a lot of these you can find on Tubi, and so they're definitely a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess my first one though, I don't know if this one is as available because it is a Hong Kong film. It's called Righting Wrongs, and so it's directed by a Hong Kong director who did do some stuff here in America, Corey Yuen. Also stars Biao or Yuen, however you say it, who's also a big star, in Hong Kong films, and she stars opposite him. And for Hong Kong action movies, the reason why I picked this one out of all of her other Hong Kong ones is she's in this one the most. I feel like there was another one that she did with Michelle Yeoh that's also kind of a big one that I think other people might have wanted to see on here. And so that one, it's possible that people might be hearing that one and say like, oh, why didn't you pick that one? It was called Yes, Madam. That's another really good one. But Righting Wrongs, I think her and Yuan Biao do a really great job together. And it's like classic Hong Kong, where it's just essentially you turn the dial up to 11 and you break it off, and it's just great scene after great scene. I think it is available on DVD in certain places, and usually if it's available on DVD, some of the screeners will start to pick it up. So I think if you ever are looking for things to watch and you see Righting Wrongs, and you're looking for some nice action, that's definitely one to check out.
I like it. I'm looking forward to checking out some of these things. I'm not sure I'll ever pull the plug on the Purge series, but I could easily check into something like you said on Tubi, or if there's a video release, a DVD or Blu-ray release of something. I indulge in that way too often. I spend a lot of money on crap. Good deal. Well, my top five list is going to be very straightforward here. I've had people in the past who picked uh, actors or writers or something esoteric to talk about. I've always tried to do something really kind of off the beaten path with my lists, but this one is about the most mainstream kind of list that you can come up with. I've got my top five favorite films from a director that I was enamored with for a period of time, and I think I saw 90% of the things that he directed, and that's Brian De Palma. When I was growing up in the 1970s, De Palma films, that group of Hollywood brats, I shouldn't call them brats, but the new Hollywood guys, uh, Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg. Scorsese's kind of an outside on that one, although I would still think of him as a mainstream filmmaker. And De Palma were all the kinds of directors that I was drawn to, but the De Palma films always fascinated me, and they picked subjects that I was interested in. Carrie, of course, was his biggest success in the 1970s, but I loved Obsession, and he got a lot of grief for stealing from Hitchcock. Whether you call it stealing or an homage, I think there's a lot of Hitchcock in most of his films, and I'm perfectly fine with that because Hitchcock wasn't working anymore. He stopped working in 1979, and or 76, I think it was. Family Plot was his last film. Brian De Palma just kind of continued those sorts of things. So I'm happy to talk about my fascination with De Palma films. And I did, like I said, I ranked them sort of like Matthew said, not necessarily the best, but my favorites. I think it does work out a little bit, though, that my favorite is also the best of his films. But I'm going to start at my number five. And one of the reasons that I picked this week, like I said, it was a default for me because I was struggling with another topic I was thinking of. But I've just seen two of his films on the big screen in the last week. And one of them is this one that comes in at number five, and that's Snake Eyes from 1998. Snake Eyes is maybe the last of the films that De Palma made that I think worked well for me, that made me love his films. After this film, there was quite a bit of fall off from the features that he made. I wanted to love Mission to Mars. It was okay. Black Dahlia should have worked, and it just didn't. So this is kind of, for me, the end of my 20-year infatuation with De Palma, because after this, I don't really have any movies of his that I love. Snake Eyes features an over-the-top performance by Nick Cage, which I guess is maybe a little redundant. What do you call it? Uh, there's a word for it, and this is the problem when you get old. You toss this word around all the time, and now I can't even remember what the damn word is. It's like a tautology. You're basically repeating yourself when you say it's over the top Nick Cage. Nick Cage is by definition over the top. And he plays a corrupt local detective whose old friend is a naval commander who happens to be in charge of security for the visiting Secretary of Defense at a prize fight, a heavyweight prize fight. And obviously, bad things are going to happen. There's an assassination that takes place. There's a mysterious blonde, a local newscaster, low-life bookies, and they all get involved in this. The movie plot is not all that important. What's important is the way the film is shot. He uses, you know, non-sequential timing for his stories, so it's not necessarily narratively straightforward. We're always cutting back and forth between different sequences. We're seeing things like a Rashomon kind of thing where we're seeing the same event from different perspectives. It is filmed sometimes with split screen, so we see two different things happening at the same time from different perspectives. There is a couple of Hitchcockian moments where we're shooting the images from up above, like we're moving across several hotel rooms and we're seeing what's happening in the different hotel rooms. And this is all very much like a De Palma style sort of thing. And like I said, I think he stole the idea from Hitchcock, who used similar kinds of things in some of his films. And it's a frantic movie. It's got a great understated performance from Gary Sinise, an actor that I like so much. He's just a very effective, and he's got an interesting presence. And it's, like I said, it's over the top. It's visually just fantastic to look at. And I got a chance at one point when it first came out. It came out in 1998, and I think after arrived in home video, we watched it quite a bit, but it was one of those things that came up continuously on the pay stations that we got on our satellite TV. And I think my kids, who were in high school at the time, started watching it like it was a default movie for them. And they were probably a little too young for it, but I let them do it anyway because I'm a bad father in that regard. I let them have at it. And I think that's where they both fell in love with Nick Cage and with Gary Sinise.
Yeah, I remember when this one came out because Nicolas Cage had a string of really successful action movies, right? Like Con Air, The Rock, etc., Face Off.
Right.
And so it was marketed as an action movie. And I was like, I don't, it was like, okay, I've seen enough of these kind of movies. I don't want to watch it. And then recently I came back to it because I was kind of doing for my own, my podcast, my solo podcast that I do, like that four pack of Nicolas Cage action movies, and realized, oh, this isn't an action movie; it's a De Palma film, and it's, like you said, it's got many more aspects to it than just simply be. It's not really an action film at all, and I found I
No.
really enjoyed it. And it's like I wish at the time, if it hadn't been marketed to me as an action movie, I probably would have watched it back then and enjoyed it. And I ended up just writing it off as a big budget action thing that I wasn't interested in, and came back to it, I guess what, almost 30 years later.
Well, it's worth coming back to. It's like I said, I just got a chance to see it on the big screen for the first time since I saw it on the big screen in 1998, and it still works. It's like I said, you were right. It's not really an action film. It's a thriller with kind of a conspiracy element to it. There are a lot of these films that have conspiracy elements to them. That's of course, part of that whole milieu from the 1970s, and De Palma was steeped in that. So here he is reliving it 20 years after that decade ended, and he's still got those things going on. So it's a film that I would recommend to people. Is it a good film? I don't know. The story is not necessarily all that good, but the way it's shot and the way it looks, the way it comes across, I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So that's why it's on my list.
I think your
Nicole,
list is a treat, Richard, because although I can't say that I've seen a lot of De Palma's films, I've been loosely familiar with him by name since back when I was like in school studying film. But over time I've come to kind of be more well versed in like your Scorsese's, your, Spielberg, Coppola, etc. So I haven't paid as much attention to him as I probably should have, but he's one of those people where it's like I know about him, but even if I haven't seen a lot of his work, similar to like when I hadn't seen what is that franchise? The Godfather series. And then the pandemic happened and I had an opportunity to catch up on that. I'm thinking, okay, I know The Godfather exists, but I just never saw any of the movies. I'm familiar with De Palma, but not a lot of his catalog. So this is quite the treat.
you'll have to tell me as we go along if you've seen any of the films that I'm talking about. I'm willing to
Okay.
bet you'll probably have seen one or two of them.
Okay.
We'll
Will
see how it
do. Will
goes.
do. And I do want to say you are a great father because my own father brought me a movie that my mother told me I couldn't watch. So so I think some of the best dads are the dads that they give you access to things
There you
even if
go.
you might not be old enough to watch.
That was my dad too. So
Yeah,
yes,
see,
yes.
my mom told me I couldn't watch a movie that I really wanted to see. So I told my dad, I asked my dad if I could see it, and he bought it on VHS.
And you watched it repeatedly, irritating probably your mother.
She didn't know.
Oh, well, there you go. Keep it away from
Well,
her.
I mean, if she listens to the Lambcast, she reads my blog. So, like, if
She's gonna
she
know now.
listens to yeah, she'll find out. My bad. Sorry, not
Uh-oh.
sorry.
Well, Nicole, what's your number four film that is a popular movie that you yourself didn't care much for?
Whew. it is a film that is my friend Michelle's favorite movie of all the time. It is The Wiz. I did not like it when I saw it, even though I know that there are very iconic like individuals in the film. I think Diana Ross did a good job. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, so I don't have anything against him or his performance in the movie. I think I think I probably didn't like it because I'm accustomed to seeing The Wizard of Oz, and I took a long time. It took me a long time to see The Wiz, so that's probably why I probably didn't like it, but I feel like there was all of this hype. Unlike The Godfather, which I finally saw, in the last several years, and unlike something like Game of Thrones, which the TV show, which I never watched it ever. And then um probably sometime around the pandemic as well, like I got caught up to date and I understand the draw. So I do like Game of Thrones and I did like The Godfather, and I do understand the appeal of The Wiz, but I don't like The Wiz. And my cousin said I should watch it again, so maybe I will. But I think I had high expectations for it based on other people's excitement and description of the movie. And then when I watched it, I was like, is this it? Like, is this all there is? I don't know.
Well, the big criticism I remember when The Wiz opened was that Diana Ross was completely miscast. She's just way too old for the part, and so there were a lot of criticism that the film didn't work because of that. I didn't see the movie when it opened, although there was talk about it. The reviews were not very good. So I stayed away for a long time. I did catch up with it probably sometime in the 90s on a cable channel because I said, "Oh, I ought to see this." And I'm like you, I did not care for it at all. Earlier this year, I did see the stage play, the musical of The
Mhm.
Wiz. And I enjoyed that a little bit more, but it's the same kind of thing. It's a retelling of a story that's already been told really well once, and they're trying to do some different things with it, and I appreciate that. But I'm not sure that I'm always. I think I'd prefer something a little more original than just let me take something that already exists and twist it and interpret it to fit an agenda that I have. I'm not a big fan of that. I the the reimagining of the whole story with the two Wicked films. I'm sorry. It took me a second to get there. It's the same kind of thing. I saw the first of the Wicked films. It's pretty looking. It's got some nice songs to it. I didn't care one bit about it afterwards, and I never even bothered with the second one because I just wasn't intrigued by it. But I could watch The Wizard of Oz today without even thinking hard about it, unless I'm in Vegas, and I would skip going to the Sphere because if that's the first time you're seeing the Wizard of Oz, you're missing two-thirds of the movie. Uh, the Wiz, though, I can't steer people away from it. I just can say I wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
Great. Now I don't feel weird because my cousin told me that I should consider. I recently went out with my cousin a few weeks ago, and it's one of her favorite movies. And when I mentioned that I didn't like it, you would have thought that I ran over like a puppy or something. But she told me I said that I was willing to watch it again, and she told me that I should consider the time that it was made in and understand that uh movie studios didn't have like a lot of the technological advances that they have today, and the budget and the bells and whistles are different for the time. So I can appreciate her position. And I do understand that aspect. But then I would imagine that that would then apply to other movies as well, like older movies. And there are old movies that I do still like there's a black and white movie. I think it's black and white. Breathless. I think that's like a Goddard film.
Plus,
I
yeah,
could
oh
be
yeah,
wrong. Is that Goddard? So
yeah.
Breathless. I liked Breathless when I saw that. There are, Hitchcock movies that I like, and they are old. They don't have like a lot of fancy like or modern like special effects. Yet I could still watch them again today. Um, it's just The Wiz just didn't do it for me. Go-
The Wiz is a musical theater experience, and I know that it's always popular to adapt a musical theater presentation to film, and sometimes they come out great. I can't deny that there are times when a musical from Broadway works as a theatrical presentation. I mean, some of my favorite films fit into that category, uh, but it's an imperfect transition sometimes, and I just myself, I'm with you. I didn't think it did transition very well.
Yeah, yeah,
But we've left Matthew out of this discussion. Matthew, have you
that's
seen The Wiz?
I have. So I first saw it when I was a kid on in where I grew up about an hour north of Boston, and so there was a channel TV 38 that would do when they weren't showing Boston Bruins or Red Sox games, they would show a show called The Movie Loft, where this gravelly voiced host Dana Hersey would show movies, and that was where I first saw The Wiz. It probably would have been about 10 years after it came out. And at that age, I was like, 9 or 10 years old. So it was more about Michael Jackson, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor was in it, Nipsey Russell. I kind of recognized a lot of names. Even someone like Patty Austin. I was like, oh, look at that. I know her. Later on, I watched it again, and I think for me, I agree with what you're saying about the sort of the adaptation, and especially the fact that Diana Ross. It doesn't really work because as the lead because she's older. I think it's like there's sort of almost like two parts. There's the adaptation itself and then the music. And so as a big Quincy Jones fan, and I think from all the different musical names that you see when you kind of go through the cast list and you see all those names of people that were singing on it, and people like Lena Horne as well. It was that part of it I really appreciate. So I guess it's sort of like two things. Like I think as an adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, The Wizard of Oz is always going to be superior, and I totally agree with you, Richard, on the fact that like I could see it anytime. I think on Christmas Day after TBS is done showing A Christmas Story after the last one, they will sometimes show The Wizard of Oz right after, and it just seems like a natural thing to just watch it while it's on. Whereas The Wiz is not that kind of movie. It's not the kind of movie where I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna just watch it and know everything's gonna happen in it and appreciate it. But the musical aspect of it, I like a lot of the music in the movie, and so that kind of pushes it a little bit above. But I also I like I would not like Nicole, if you said to me I can't stand The Wiz or I don't like The Wiz or whatever, I wouldn't be like, oh no, you got to give it another chance. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing, I guess, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and I appreciate that, Matt, because I get a lot of pushback on on that.
We're not judging you. We're on your side on this one.
Yes.
Well, Matthew, what's the next Cynthia Rothrock film that you got for us?
So the next one is now this one definitely is on Tubi. It's not only is it on Tubi, but there's also a Riff Tracks version of it on Tubi, which might give you a sense of where this one's going. But
Where this is going.
Exactly. It's called Honor and Glory. It was made in the early '90s, and it's directed by and written by a director named Godfrey Ho, who he is known in the business as somebody who essentially he went out to like movie sales and bought up like the rights to like a bunch of like old like Hong Kong and Thai and Korean movies, and then he would splice them together with footage that he newly shot and make a whole bunch of movies. So like there was like the ninja craze in the '80s, and he got this character actor Richard Harrison to come out and do what he thought was going to be one ninja movie, but he took the footage of that one ninja movie and made 20 of them. So he's kind of known as that kind of this kind of the schlock auteur. But he came to the United States and tried to make a couple sort of movies that didn't involve him splicing other footage in. And so one of them is Honor and Glory, where Cynthia Rothrock, she plays one of two sisters. The other sister is played by Donna Jason, who also is an accomplished martial artist but didn't do many other films. And they are sort of trying to take down this crime boss played by an actor named John Miller, who just is chewing scenery left and right. And it's kind of a ridiculous movie in the sense of like the plot is ridiculous. I mean, the John Miller character, to show how much of a bad guy he is, he's too cool to even go for a meeting with Ronald Reagan, which is just, it's sort of out of nowhere. He's just like telling his assistant that he can't meet with her. There's a scene where Donna Jason, because she's a reporter, a woman attacks her because the woman's father was a senator, and Jason published an article about her. There's like a knife fight that ensues, and then just like once that fight's done, nobody's calling the police. None of that kind of stuff's happening. So there's a little bit of suspending of disbelief, but the martial arts is fantastic. And you get this end fight scene at the end. And one of the things Godfrey Ho did do with these movies was he was not as keen on the whole one-on-one fight, that like, oh, the hero has to go one-on-one against the baddie and overcome them. He liked this idea of like a team-up kind of thing. And you get this very diverse team-up, especially for the early 90s. You wouldn't have seen, where normally it would just be some big, lantern-jawed white guy fighting the baddie. In this case, you get Rothrock with Donna Jason, and then Chuck Jeffries. So Chuck Jeffries is known for being Eddie Murphy's stunt double in a lot of his action movies, but he was an accomplished action star himself, or accomplished martial artist himself, who didn't get a lot of parts, but this was a bigger part for him. And then Robin Shaw, who he plays Liu Kang in the first Mortal Kombat movie. He played Rothrock's partner in Hong Kong before she comes back to the United States to see her family. And he just sort of shows up and helps her. And it's this really great scene at the end where the four of them kind of team up to take on John Miller's bad guy character. And it's something that, again, you don't really see in movies like this, especially at this time, but it really worked. I had Jeanette Ward, who's no stranger to this podcast. She was on my podcast to discuss this movie. And it was something that really stood out for both of us. And so there's a lot of goofiness in it. I think, you've got Godfrey Ho, who's from Hong Kong, and he's trying to sort of understand the American action movie. And sometimes the things that we think of in an action movie, to see them reflected through somebody else's cultural lens and back at us, it can be very interesting. Some of the dialogue might seem a little bit off, or some of the story might be a little bit off, but the martial arts is fantastic, and Rothrock herself is really good in it. So again, I think if you've got 90 minutes to kill, I mean, you could do the Riff Tracks version if that might be a little bit easier for you to have somebody there making jokes about it with you. But I also recommend doing the actual version that's on Tubi as well.
Your
I
description
like it.
about this movie alone makes me excited to watch. It makes me want to see.
Yeah, it's one that, like I said, the Riff Tracks guys can make fun of it. It has that quality to it, but there's some really inspired moments in it, especially from a martial arts standpoint, but also just from from the actors, and some of the performances they give, that it kind of elevates a little bit beyond that. I like riffing on movies myself. I enjoy it, but there are elements of this that you can just sort of enjoy on its own.
I've never seen a Riff Track, like a Riff Tracks movie. I think that might be distracting for me unless I was drinking. But yeah, I'm gonna have to put this on my
I thought
list.
about doing a Riff Tracks version of a Lambcast, where we pick some movie and everybody just goes at it while the movie's on, and we talk about it, and you can play the track later on when the movie is playing someplace.
That sounds lovely.
It does, yes. Yeah,
You have
for
to have the
sure.
right cast of guests for that,
Yeah,
because some people will just they'll go a little too far.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And the goal is to have some fun, not to be completely mean.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say there are elements of the riff tracks that may be a little bit meaner than maybe what the movie deserves. So that is part of it. But sometimes I think for people who are kind of new to this level of filmmaking, or this quality of filmmaking, sometimes the riff tracks helps because you kind of it kind of eases you into it maybe a little bit if you're not familiar with movies at this level sometimes.
All right, it'll be a dilemma which one I choose to watch.
Yes.
Well, my number four film is it's a well-known film. It got some great reviews, and it was a bomb. And it stars maybe the one of the two biggest stars of any of the films that De Palma made. I guess after Tom Cruise, it's a step down to everybody, but he was working with a lot of people at this time, and this star at the time was the hottest star in the world, and the movie just did not play, and it's Blowout from 1981, starring John Travolta. The film also features Nancy Allen, who was De Palma's wife for several years, and you guys would probably know Nancy Allen best from RoboCop, but she's been in a ton of his films from earlier. She had been in his film Dressed to Kill a couple of years before this, and she's also one of the girls in um, Harry. She was a familiar De Palma character, and in this film she plays a woman of the evening who is caught up in a political conspiracy. This is another one that it's 1981, but it's right out of the 70s. So that conspiracy paranoia period where there's something going on. Politics are being manipulated by some outside group. A murder takes place, and Travolta is a sound guy making low budget movies and recording sounds for those movies, and he accidentally records what's may in fact be a planned automobile accident. It could be a murder of a governor who is a leading candidate for president of the United States. So, it's a big deal that's going on here, and but his clues are all sound-based kinds of things. He's trying to analyze this. We should have James Wilson on the show here because James Wilson, Emmy award-winning sound technician, could tell us what would be legitimate or illegitimate about this, but it's a sleazy circumstance because he's not a Hollywood sound guy. He's working in Philadelphia. I know that Nicole will find that okay. And Matthew, you're not in Philadelphia, are you?
I am actually. Yes, I'm in South Philadelphia.
There,
Yeah.
What?
so
No way!
I got my
Yes.
two Philly people on the show
No
today. There we
way!
Yeah,
go.
so we're both, yes. I was gonna make a joke because there's somebody doing construction outside because everybody knows a guy who can do something for them, and the weekends are when the guy who knows the guy can do something on
Do it. Yeah, he's
exactly.
available.
Luckily they're done now, but I was worried like, oh, is that gonna be too loud during this? So yes, no, so I'm in South Philadelphia. Yes.
So yeah, this film takes place in Philadelphia. Like I said, and it's kind of a low budget background that's going on there, but it's really good. I think the reason it doesn't work for the most audiences is that it is got maybe the bleakest ending of any of De Palma's films, and that says a lot because it is dark, and the way it works out and plays out, it's tough, but it's full of the same kinds of De Palma touches that we've talked about before. It's got those long uh, takes, the 360 uh, shots. I'm trying to remember. I think there's some split screen also. It's just one of those things that works well. And it uses things sparingly. Sometimes he could be a little over the top. Like I think he was a little over the top with Snake Eyes, but I love that. Here, I think it's a little bit more contained, but there are some other things that he does, the way it's shot with there's some dark red hues and that they use in a couple of sequences where she's interacting with some of the other characters in the film. It's good, it's a solid film. It's very well made, and Travolta is terrific in it. He's really this is one of his better performances. And this is coming off of Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and I'm trying to remember if I think Urban Cowboy was also right before this. So he had those three big successes, and then this film, Blowout, which didn't hit with the audience at all. So, but I love it, and it's inspired by Blow Up, the Antolini film from the 60s, which also involves, somebody who has a particular piece of information that may in fact be key to a murder, but instead of it being a photograph like in Blow Up, here it's a sound effect. And like I said, the way it plays out at the end of the movie is just it's dark. It gets used. Forget the Wilhelm scream. We've got the blowout scream that's going on.
I like Travolta, but I can't say that I've seen Blowout. I don't I wasn't alive when the movie came out, so it's something I have to catch on streaming. But I'm curious about whether my mother has seen it or not. I'll have to ask her. But she was, I guess, in high school when this was out. But I like Travolta. He's
Well,
uh he's a fun guy to watch.
yeah, no, he was good in this, and he's playing a character that he fits very naturally into. So,
And you mentioned Dress to Kill. I heard of that movie. I still haven't seen it. The lady that's in this movie was in
oh, Nancy Allen, yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's the star of Dress to Kill. And like I said, she was De Palma's wife at the time. Uh, and she'd been in a lot of films in that time period. And later on, of course, I'm trying to remember. The last big thing I saw her in was Out of Sight, where she plays Albert Brooks's girlfriend in the movie. But she's not a big part, but it was a good part. I'm sure she's worked. I just not familiar with anything that she's done lately.
So,
Excuse me, Blowout.
so I actually I kind of I could technically I have seen it because it was again one of those movie loft movies when I was really young.
Right.
But one, of course, I'd never been to Philadelphia at that point when I saw the movie. Now, of course, I've been here for however many years. I also saw Blow Up since then. Probably about 10 years or so ago. So yeah, so Blow Up definitely needs another watch for me. It's probably been yeah again close to 30 years since I've seen it, and or no 40, I guess 40, right? If we're talking like late 80s, that's so it's been. I was really too young to have seen Blowout. It was one of those ones that. So just kind of I don't know. This is probably too much information, but when I was a kid, my uncle gave me his Atari, and my mom didn't want me playing it in the living room, so. My aunt, by another, my mom's friend, gave us a 13-inch black and white that we moved into my bedroom with, and I could watch movies and stuff in there. So I was watching. So I would have seen it on a 13-inch black and white when I did see it. So it probably needs a new viewing for sure. The other thing too is that because the Untouchables had come out around this time, I think, right? It was like the late 80s. It was like 87 was the Untouchables.
87, yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of De Palma films were being shown on the movie loft. So Dress to Kill, I did see recently. I've actually seen that one. Like I saw that about a year ago. So that one's much more recent. But that would have been one that aired. I'm not going to mention any others because I don't want to. Just in case you've got them on your list, I can maybe bring it up later if they
It's
come up.
okay.
Yeah, but Blowout is one that definitely needs a rewatch. Just again, seeing all the locations that are listed on there that would have made no sense to me at all as an 8 or 9 year old when I would have seen it. Yeah, so I have a feeling a lot of the ones that you mentioned, these De Palma movies, are going to be movies that I saw like close
For
to
the corner
40
of your eye, yeah.
exactly that I need to watch again because I don't really remember much about them. But this is one that, and it shows up on Tubi. This one's on Tubi, so it's one that I probably should check out because it's right there to watch.
Well, Blowout and Blow Up ought to be a great double feature for some Saturday afternoon.
Yes. Yeah, because Blow Up I have seen more recently. So, and I didn't realize, I didn't even think about the fact that they would have been connected either. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, Nicole, what's next?
Uh, Black Panther. I think it's over.
This
I
is the
think
one you're
it's
going to get crap for.
I think I think it's overrated. And when I say Black Panther, I don't mean just that first movie. I mean both of them that came out. I do recall on a previous episode of the Lambcast, I was asked to come in to mention why I refuse to watch the second one.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was encouraged to, check it out eventually. I did. I did see the second one finally since then. I saw it on streaming and hey, I I my position still stands. But similar to Matt's enjoyment of the music in The Wiz, I like the soundtrack of Black Panther more than I like the movie. And I don't want to take away from the performance of the actors. I like a lot of the actors who were in the film. I think they did a good job. And especially in that the first Black Panther, David Kalu was in that movie. Who he's been in other movies like Widows, I think, and
Oh,
Nope,
yeah, he was
and
scary in that.
some other, yeah, some other movies. I like to look at him. So if I would watch Black Panther just to look at, just to enjoy the view. However, I think I don't dislike Black Panther because I think it's a bad movie per se. Uh, I just I just think it's overrated and celebrated a bit too much, and that's it. It's not a favorite
Oh,
at all.
I think that, like I said, you'll probably get pushback from a lot of other people about this.
I know.
Uh,
I know.
I like Black Panther quite well, but I don't want to say it's overrated, but I did think it was overhyped. I think people pressed for it to get Best Picture nomination, and I'm going, well, there are at least five other of those MCU films that were as good and could have gotten such attention, but didn't. And this one did, and I understand why. There's representation that's going on here. There's a different kind of environment that they're shooting in. It doesn't seem strictly just like it's about the threat from outer space. It's really something much more uh, political in nature and deals with historic elements, which are all good things for us to be talking about and seeing. But maybe it does inflate the movie a little beyond what is really there. So I won't back you 100%, but I will say I understand why you might say this.
What you just described, Richard, is actually the reason why I do not like it.
Okay.
And like I think that if you're gonna do a thing, then do it in a way that's actually helpful, or don't do it at all. But I believe, and this is my personal opinion. I'm not you know, I don't study human behavior. I'm not a psychologist, what have you. I think that the movie is harmful to people that pedestalize it. And yeah, I just think I wish that the focus was just on the Marvel franchise, because in them taking certain directions, you start doing things that lead to bad influences. And again, like you said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a lot of pushback for it. But I just think that the movie is just it doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. And again, no shade to the guy Chadwick, Mr.
Bozeman, yeah, no, he
Yes,
was great.
sir. No shade to the family. But just that's I'm it's not a favorite of mine. No, 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 no.
Understood.
And I think I'm glad you I do think it was overhyped. So I may have used the wrong word in terms of overrated. Because I don't think, again, production wise, etc., I don't think it was poorly made. I do think it was overhyped. Definitely.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of things. Look, I'm a contrarian on a number of things. I hosted the show that we did on Barbie, and I thought that movie was terrible. It didn't work for me at all, but the whole world was in love with Barbie at the time.
I
So,
still need to see it. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
me
still
too,
need to see
actually.
that. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
no, you don't.
Okay.
I do. I'm just curious. I have to, I have the Olipop. I have the
Oh,
Barbie sodas,
that's
Rich.
it.
No,
That's
I
it.
have to watch it.
That
We've
actually tastes
piqued your
good. I like
interest.
that.
Yeah, you had it too, Matt. Oh, say,
Yes, yeah, the Acme on 10th and South sold it. So I would Yeah, if I was
Oh my God, you're like not too far from
yeah,
Look, we have
from
an
me.
informal
I
lamb
go to
meetup coming.
I go to that Acme. I
yes,
go
yes.
to- but yeah, I on a previous episode of the Lambcast, I was it a top row you're on? I don't know. I did like five movie merchandise items
Yes,
that I
yes.
own, and my Barbie Olipop soda was on that list. I am a Barbie girl. I have to see the at least once, Richard.
Well,
Even if I do a riff track, you could do a riff
yeah,
track
you
for
could do that. Like I said, it worked for the whole world except for me. Matthew, what worked for you with Cynthia Rothrock next?
So yes, and I'll just quickly say I really love Black Panther, but I totally get what you're saying about it. So I Michael B. Jordan, it's hard for him to do wrong for me, and I just loved him as Killmonger as the baddie. And I love Jet.
Yes, okay. He
Yeah.
was not because I don't like the fact this is good. This is going to get into a whole other thing,
Oh, okay.
but like
I'm
he
sorry.
was, I don't like the fact that they created like they made him the villain, but he's not really the villain.
Right, right.
He is not the villain. But that's it. I'm
Yeah.
leaving it there. I don't want
Okay,
this.
yes.
That's
Sorry about
it.
that. I didn't mean to, yes, but yeah, it's my third.
Killmonger is not the villain.
Yeah, it's my third favorite MCU movie is Black Panther, but I also get your what you're saying about it. So it's just yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yay.
Yeah. So my number three is a movie called Rage and Honor from 1992. So actually, all these are around that same time, 1992. But Rage and Honor, it features Rothrock as she works in a local community where there's sort of some kids that are kind of on the wrong side of the tracks that she's sort of helping out, and she's working with I believe he's a police officer played by Richard Norton. So Richard Norton is someone who worked a lot with her in her career. He's from Australia originally, and then they met. I believe they met when they were doing movies in Hong Kong together, and then when he came when they came back to the States here and they're making movies together, the thing about Richard Norton was it felt like you'd see a movie with him and Rothrock together, that he kind of understood as a martial arts practitioner better than maybe than anybody else how good Rothrock was. And there was always a sense when he when he made a movie with her that he wanted the world to know how good she was. So when they were together, it would enhance her skills a lot. And you'd see her on another level. They made a sequel to this movie, Rage and Honor 2, that focuses more on Norton's character and less on Rothrock. So that's why I didn't have that one here. That movie might be a little bit more fun than this one, but she's just absolutely amazing in it. The baddie is played by like drawing a blank on his name, Brian Thompson. I almost said Brian James. No, it's Brian Thompson, who you may know as like he was the baddie in Cobra. I think he played Shao Kahn in the second Mortal Kombat movie. He has this like tacked on mullet that looks pretty ridiculous. But again, mullets are something that you have to accept if you're watching movies from this time, that you're going to get them
That's right.
you get really good ones. Also, Catherine Bach from the Dukes of Hazzard. She plays the police captain that Norton is working with, or whatever, however that works. But the idea is it's one of those kind of MacGuffin kind of movies where there's a murder that happens, a young man tapes the murder, and then they've got to find the tape to sort of exonerate Richard Norton's character who was being framed for this murder. But yeah, you get some really great martial arts moments. There's one in particular, if you're a classic TV fan, I know for me, watches a lot of TV from like the 70s and 80s when the ATM was first becoming a thing in the 80s. There was always an episode where somebody's hand would get stuck in the ATM or it just would pump out more money than possible. And there's a scene where she gets attacked at the ATM and she just takes all the guys down. It's a really great scene. But the ATM itself looks like your classic TV ATM when they were kind of first a thing. And so it kind of brought me back to that. I was like, what's going to happen here? Did she just, a bunch of guys try to attack her and she kind of like, I think she puts the money on the ground and like kind of lures them in to take the money. And then she just starts going to work on them. So yeah, again, if you're looking for some kind of nice low budget direct to video action. Again, this is another one that I believe is on Tubi, and actually no, it's not on any of them right now. So it kind of comes and goes on those. Sometimes you can find them on YouTube as well. Sometimes people put up YouTube versions of them, and they can be varying qualities. But yeah, this is another really fun one that again it shows off just how good Rothrock was, and her martial arts skills. And but then again, opposite a baddie played by Brian Thompson that also works as well.
Oh, I like, like you said, I remember seeing movies in this era, m- mainstream movies as well as, the direct to video kinds of films, and everybody had a mullet. Jean-Claude Van Damme had a mullet. It's just
Yes.
like, so that style is definitely indicative of the time period. I'm interested in seeing what the ATM looks like too.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's almost like Brian Thompson's character. Like, I don't think he had the mullet, and they were just like, "Well, if you're going to be in this movie, you need to have a mullet." And so they kind of, I don't know if it was like extensions or what, but it looks kind of ridiculous. It doesn't even look like extensions. It looked like it was like glued on the back of his head or something. It's kind of a trip for sure.
Oh, I'm lucky. I never rocked the mullet. All right. Well, my next film, right in the middle here, number three, is maybe the most controversial choice because it is one that got terrible reviews at the time. A lot of people say it's the sleaziest of his films, even sleazier than Dress to Kill. And I think it's the film that he does the best job of directing. I can't say it's the best film or it's my favorite De Palma film, but I can say that he did the most incredible job making this movie work of any of the films that I've seen that he's made. And that's 1984's Body Double. Uh, Body Double is the story of a guy who, like a Hitchcock film, he sees a murder, but what does he see? Is it really the murder that he thinks it is, or is it something else that's going on? And he's an actor who's basically he's house sitting in this elegant flying saucer house in Southern California. It's, by the way, it's a real place, the Flying Saucer House. It's got a 360-degree view, and it's up on some pylons, and it's in the Hollywood Hills. Uh, but he sees as a what is essentially a peeping Tom, a murder taking place across the canyon from him. It's a woman that he's been watching and kind of fell in love with, and before she is murdered, which does happen in the film, uh, she she's in jeopardy a couple of times from a creepy looking guy that's been following her around. And there's a great sequence in both a Beverly Hills Mall and in Long Beach where the actor who is playing our fall guy basically is doing a cat and mouse routine following the bad guy who's following the woman that he's following. So it's basically, three people engaged in trying to evade one another, follow one another, not be seen, and they do it so incredibly well in, like I said, in a mall setting, and then later on at a beach setting, and it's just watching it is hypnotizing. That you don't even have to know what the story is. You just get a good idea that something weird is going on here. Um, the guy who's the lead is Craig Wasson, and he was an actor that uh, he looks like Bill Maher, so if you're familiar with what Bill Maher looks like, this guy is his doppelganger from the 1980s. And he's a very nondescript performer. There's nothing spectacular about what he does, but he does have a nice quirk as a character. He's got a little bit of claustrophobia and that tape. So this is like Vertigo and Rear Window and all those other Hitchcock films that once again De Palma is mining for his content, but it's shot so wonderfully. And Greg Henry is in it. He plays a character that you'll be suspicious of immediately. He's a long-term Hollywood tough guy. You've probably seen him in 1,000 films, and he's really good. And it's just very clever. And the film's star is Melanie Griffith, and she really doesn't really appear in the film until halfway through the movie. And it's kind of an odd sequence that connects her to the film. And if you guys are familiar with the song Relax from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, this is the movie that made the video that made, Relax into the hit that it was back in 1984. So if you've seen that video and you know that song, then you have a little bit of an introduction to this particular movie.
Yeah, I think if I were, so I haven't seen as many De Palma films, so I probably would have to watch more to create a decent maybe top five for myself. But yeah, I think I would have this probably right where you have it at number three. I just, I watch a lot of direct-to-video erotic thrillers in addition to
Yeah.
direct-to-video action, and people usually think of Fatal Instinct and Basic, or sorry, it's not, Fatal Attraction and
Basic
Basic,
Instinct.
right?
It works.
Exactly.
It works.
Right. Well, wasn't that
That was a takeoff one, Fatal
right, that was a
Instinct.
spoof, right? Fatal Instinct, exactly. But Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct, they think of those as the ones that led to like the big movement of erotic, cable and direct-to-video erotic thrillers in the '90s, and I think they played a big part in it. But definitely, Body Double is one that, at least stylistically, I think a lot of the directors and cinematographers that were making those movies in the '90s, they pulled a lot from Body Heat. I think, or sorry, Body Double. Body Heat's another one. The Lawrence Kasdan is. I don't know if he counts as a film, Brad, as well, Lawrence Kasdan, but Body Heat and Body Double are two that people draw a lot from. And so I've always appreciated this for that. That like when I can watch Body Double and then go and watch something like Mirror Images or something like that Gregory Dark, something like that directed. And the funny thing about Gregory Dark is his cinematographer Wally Pfister was Christopher Nolan's early cinematographer. I don't think he did like the Odyssey or anything like that, but I think Inception might have been his last movie that he did with Christopher Nolan. But he got his start doing erotic thrillers, and I think again he draws a lot of his style from movies like this. So yeah, I've always enjoyed this one for that reason. It could always use a rewatch for me. I think it's been a little while since I've last seen it, but I love seeing things in it that I recognize from like the '90s direct to video movies that I watched.
Good. I like that somebody else out there is attracted to Body Double, and not just because it's an erotic thriller, but because of the way it's shot and made.
I haven't seen it, but you had me at the sequence. I'm all for a good sequence. So I was trying when you were describing it, I was trying to picture one of those two scenes that you mentioned where you said there's this guy following the man who's following the woman that he's following.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting.
It's good, and like a lot of the De Palma films, there's twisty stuff that's going on. There's a turn or two that happens in the film. I mean, I did give away the fact that a woman is murdered in the film, but it does turn out that it's not necessarily the woman that we think is the woman who's being murdered in the film.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a little twisty. Well, Nicole, you've got another film here that you didn't enjoy that other people's did. So what is it?
There will be blood. It was too slow, too damn long, and there wasn't as much blood as I anticipated. So that's the next film. And I know this was a quite popular film when it came out, I think, and but I didn't see it when it came out. I watched, much like probably the rest of the world, during the quarantine. I had a lot of time to catch up on shows and movies, and this was one that I streamed when I was in Baltimore. And I remember complaining, like while I was watching the movie with someone I know, and I remember complaining to them about the movie while I was watching it because I felt myself like waiting for something like big to happen, and it never happened, and I was bored after a certain point, and then I was disappointed and aggravated about the fact that I invested time in a movie that felt like it was never going to end. And yeah, it's one of my five. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
The world is full of people who swear that this is the greatest movie ever made,
I can't. do-
and
I don't know if it's because maybe I have like some kind of attention deficit syndrome or something. Or maybe it's because I like action movies. It just seemed to, I don't know. I'm watching it and I'm like, again, is this all kind of like The Wiz? But I do think that I think There Will Be Blood was a well-made movie. I like a lot of the actors that were in it, and I think it was put together well outside of the pacing and the length. I was over it. Like by midway through the movie, I'm just like,
Wouldn't be
I don't know.
surprised that you were over it 20 minutes into the movie because that whole opening sequence is very deliberate and slow. And if you're not vibing to it in that section, you're going to be in for a slog for.
I wasn't. And I think I got through the first 20 minutes because I had company. Like with, I was in the company of someone else. And so I could riff on it in real time. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I know this is on a lot of like top, I don't know, top 10, top 100 lists or what have you, but
All the
it's not.
Paul Thomas Anderson folks love this movie, and then a lot of other people are fans of Paul Thomas Anderson because of this movie. I I like the movie, but I'm not as big a fan of it as everybody else seems to be. Uh, and the two films that were up for the Academy Award that year that everybody was talking about, There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men.
Woo!
I'm glad that No Country for Old Men won.
Me too. I love that one. That
You know,
movie, I love.
there you go.
Oh my God.
I put it in the time period context because I think both films have a very serious, grim. I just used the word vibe before. I'm going to use it again, vibe to them. And but I think that No Country for Old Men felt a little bit more energetic and interesting. This one requires a lot of patience, and I'm not sure that the patience is worth what you get in the end. Although, drinking your milkshake is one of those lines that's going to be remembered for a long time. So that's just me and apparently Nicole. Matthew, how did you feel about There Will Be Blood?
So, I like you said, I enjoyed it, but also like you said, No Country for Old Men out that same year, and I think that's definitely, I don't know if overshadowed it is the right word, but I think for sure it was one of those things where, if I'm thinking of a movie from that year and I'm comparing, like, I mean, I always love Daniel Day-Lewis. He wins the Oscar for Best Actor for this movie, but I think right because I think Javier Bardem was Best Supporting Actor, I think. And so that's why, because I think Bardem is just I can't I don't know if I'll ever see No Country for Old Men again, but I mean just Bardem anytime he's in a scene, it's just like the most chilling thing ever. Whereas Daniel Day-Lewis is just sort of just compelling as an actor. I guess this is another one, Nicole, where you've put it on your list and it's like I liked it, but I can't like white knight for it or whatever, right? I can't like no, you're so wrong about this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those ones that I enjoyed it, but I totally see where you're coming from.
Thank you.
So you don't have to feel too nervous, Nicole. You're not going to get dumped on by us. We're okay with your choices. We may not support them 100%, but we understand. We understand. Matthew, what is it that you understand to be Cynthia Rothrock's next great film?
So it's a movie called Undefeatable. So this is again also directed by Godfrey Ho. So this is the two movies that he did in the United States with Cynthia Rothrock. Also has Donna Jason in it. So now the movie overall is I think is more fun than Honor and Glory. The only thing I will say from a trigger warning standpoint is that there is abuse in it because the main character, or sorry, the main baddie, played by a guy named Don Niem, he plays a character named Stingray. He's abusive towards his wife, and then his wife leaves him. Essentially, Donna Jason plays her psychologist and she's or psychiatrist, and she says, you should leave this man. She does, and then he becomes a serial killer, essentially killing women that look similar to his ex, and so then it's like Rothrock, who's like she's playing somebody a lot younger than she is in real life. Her and then John Miller, who plays the baddie in Honor and Glory, they team up to try to take him down. So John Miller's a detective, and then working with Rothrock, they try to take Stingray down. It is one of the most iconic end fight scenes of all time. You can actually find that online on YouTube and everything. It's actually how I was sold to watch the movie. Another blogger at the time, movie blogger. He said, "You've got to review this movie on your site, Matt." And this was like in the late 2000s, and he showed me the end fight scene that was on YouTube, and it is quite a trip. But again, the martial arts are fantastic in it. I think that's probably the biggest piece is that the martial arts are so good. And then also, again, Godfrey Ho likes this idea of instead of having John Miller have to fight Stingray one on one and show that he's somehow like he's bigger and stronger or whatever, he and Rothrock team up to take down him. And I think it's a model that works really well. So again, there's that trigger warning aspect to it. So I think depending on who you're watching the movie with, you may not choose this one because of that part of it. But the martial arts are so good, and again, there's a lot of goofy stuff that happens in it. Again, you've got Godfrey Ho, what he thinks an American action movie is reflected back at us through his cultural lens. So there's a lot of goofiness in there as well. But again, I find this one to be another really great one, and a really great. A lot of people really like this one. Some people have this as Cynthia Rothrock's #1 film.
Well, I'm going to check out that end fight scene that you say is on YouTube and
Yeah,
see if this is the one that I should really be launching
right.
my Cynthia Rothrock story on.
Yes. Now I will say, if you're squeamish, there's a little bit of bloodiness going on there, but so if you're squeamish, keep that in mind. But otherwise, yeah, it is a ton of fun.
Good deal.
What's a fight scene without a little blood, you know?
Well, it gets it has to do. There's some eye gouge going on in it. I guess
Yeah, I was
so
gonna say there's gonna be
Wait,
stuff that
wait.
happens.
So you're okay watching that, but you won't watch The Purge? I
well,
don't
because it's not long. I should say
Okay.
it's quick, and I will say I did look away a little bit at it. So I will say
Okay.
it's a
I'm
little
like,
bit.
eye gouging?
Yeah,
Wow.
it is a little bit much for me, but the fight going into it, and again, if you watch it, you're gonna think, "Oh, this is ridiculous," because there are aspects of it that are ridiculous, like like the two of them rip each other's shirt. John Miller and Don Niem, they rip each other's shirts off as they're fighting, and they're kind of flexing and stuff, and so it looks ridiculous. But then, like, you see the actual fighting that's going on between the two of them, and it's so well choreographed and looks so nice that it's like, okay, there's goofiness, but then there's also like some real like high level martial arts there as well.
I just want to say to all actors out there, there's nothing wrong with ripping your shirt off in a movie and flexing.
No, and yeah, you
It's
definitely get that here. I don't know if there's a oil that's used or whatever, but there's definitely a glistening
Oh,
factor
see
as
now,
well when the
what's the
shirts
name of
are
this
off.
movie again?
Undefeatable,
I
undefeatable.
need to assess
Yes, yeah,
this.
yeah. They don't mess around in this one here. It's on Tubi, so now both this one and I don't know if Honor and Glory, but Undefeatable for sure. Also, it's on Tubi, which is probably the best way for people to check it out. But it also has like a four. I think it has a 4K. I know it's got a Blu-ray release as well. So some of these ones, some boutique Blu-ray companies have gone out and made new versions of them because they have such a cult following.
One, I like that. Physical media rules. Let's do that, folks.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, my next film is not one that will want you get you to gouge your eyes out for. Instead, it's one that's going to keep you fascinated, entertain you. Uh, it's the musical that The Wiz wishes it would be, and it's 1974's Phantom of the Paradise, which is a weird film for De Palma to have made, but it's so watchable, so entertaining. And I just don't understand how anybody can resist it. Phantom of the Paradise is a takeoff on exactly what it sounds like, the Phantom of the Opera, and also the Faust story, where a songwriter basically has his compositions stolen by a record executive, a studio, impresario, uh, and gets horribly mistreated, including being disfigured, and ends up haunting the palace of music, the auditorium that the impresario has opened. And the impresario, of course, is basically working for the devil. He's sold his soul years ago, and he's in the process of collecting more souls. And so it's a fantasy film. It's a takeoff on the music industry and on the film industry. And the best thing about it is that it features Paul Williams not only as the star of the film, the impresario who is stealing souls, but he did the music for the movie, and it is so listenable. I've had that soundtrack playing for 40 plus 50 years now, I guess it is. I should count accurately. It's at least 50 years my background. There are three different musical groups that appear in the story that are fantasy groups, and one of them looks like a cheesy version of the Beach Boys, and one of them is a fantastic theatrical version, sort of like if Kiss met Rocky Horror, you'd put those two things together, and that's a great sequence in the film. It's so entertaining and it looks great. And then there is, an ingenue who is terrific. She's got a nice voice. The Phantom loves her voice and wants nobody but her to sing his cantata that he's written, that is the musical piece that got stolen. And it's full of visual moments and auditory moments that are an absolute pleasure. I've had the chance to see this on the big screen several times in the last few years, including a version that is really what you would call a bootleg version. It's actually closer to the director's planned version of the film than the theatrical release, because he had to change things because of a lawsuit in the film. The record company in the movie is Swan Records. There is a real Swan Records. It's Led Zeppelin's record company, and they sued to keep Swan Records from being depicted on screen because they thought it would be conflated with their brand. And so, although Swan Records is mentioned, the logo that they had to invent, and you can see that it's just a black mat that they are posting over something else on the image. And the film was originally just titled The Phantom. It wasn't The Phantom of the Paradise. And that was another one of those studio decisions that were going to make a change in the title to make it more saleable. And so, like I said, I saw this bootleg edition that is actually approved by the director, screened at Alamo Drafthouse presentation, I think 3 years ago. It's not dramatically different, but there are like little bits and pieces that are, changed. And I either version is great for me. And like I said, the Paul Williams music is terrific. So if you like the Muppet movie music, you're gonna love Phantom of the Paradise music.
I do like the Muppet movie.
Well, Paul Williams did the music for the Muppet movie, so you should enjoy this, at least the musical parts.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife and I are fans of Paul Williams, and yeah, I mean we would watch there was like a documentary of the Carpenters, and they talked about how he did a commercial and
Oh
used the
yeah.
song "It's Only Just Begun." Yeah, and Richard Carpenter heard it and was like, calls up Paul Williams, I think at like 4 in the morning, and it's like, hey, can I use that song for something? Sorry, I've got sirens in the background here. But so that was kind of how we learned about Paul Williams, and we kind of started looking into some of the stuff that he did, and it's interesting. He was on Dean Martin's celebrity roast show, and I wonder if it was around this time, if maybe like that was part of the deal, was that he was promoting this movie, and that because we were wondering why he would be on there. He wasn't, it wasn't like he's a great comedian or anything like that. That he's no Don Rickles. But I didn't know this existed. I didn't know. I knew, I knew, kind of. De Palma's filmography, but I didn't know specifically that this movie was here with Paul Williams in it. So I'm definitely really curious to check it out.
If you haven't seen it, you are in for a treat. It's going to be something that's going to be fun for you.
Yeah.
Uh, Paul Williams was one of these characters. He was a celebrity in the 70s. He was on all of the talk shows all of the
Yeah.
time. Carson and Merv Griffin and those other afternoon shows that Dinah Shore. He was a raconteur. He could tell stories. He was a character, and he was making movies too, but he was also mostly doing the music thing. He won the Academy Award with Barbara Streisand for the song from A Star Is Born. It's just but he's just an odd guy. And then even though he never stopped working, it was like he disappeared. And basically, he had a drug problem, and he kind of got himself straightened out and just kept working. He up until a couple of years ago, he's the president of ASCAP. So he was in charge of the professional industries, you know, financial contracts and those kinds of things and making sure that people were getting paid. There was a movie that I happened to see. I went to a screening in Los Angeles of the Phantom of the Paradise that Paul Williams appeared at. Uh, and 2 weeks later, they were doing a screening of a basically a documentary about Paul Williams. Still Alive is the title of the documentary because people thought that he had died. He had
Oh.
disappeared because he was so ubiquitous in the 70s. And then it was like in the 80s and 90s in the early 2000s, it was like, well, who is this? Where did he go? Where did he go? So it's not surprising. You're right. On the Dean Martin roast, he would have been there because he was one of those celebrities that was ubiquitous, but he's not somebody that people remembered for that kind of stuff, just the songs.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I'd seen him in other stuff before. Like I think like a lot of shows, TV shows in the 70s.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot he would be like a producer or something, or something like he would play a part like that. And I remember a lot of the behind the musics that they would do on VH1 in the 2000s about acts that started in the 70s. They would always interview him because he would have some part. He'd be producing some of their songs. And I think that's how he ended up on the Carpenters documentary because he had worked.
right.
His quote on that I remember was he said, "Yeah, everybody calls the Carpenters vanilla, but boy, vanilla can be a really great flavor because the things that Richard Carpenter did with some of my songs is amazing." And I think Only Just Begun is probably a great example of that. But
Oh
so
yeah,
yeah,
no, he says right out that the Carpenters gave him the break that was necessary for him to be successful. I mean, he says he owes his whole career and success over the years to the fact that they liked that little bit of music that was being used in the commercial and they turned it, he helped them turn it into a full song.
yeah, that's amazing. And the way Richard Carpenter tells it, he was just middle of the night, he had a bout of insomnia and saw the commercial. It was, it's for a bank, I guess, right? And
Yeah, Crocker Bank.
yeah, absolutely amazing.
Well, Nicole, what's the last film on your list that you didn't enjoy, but everybody else seems to think is great?
Death Race 2000. And this is a movie that I think I saw it twice. Back when
Now,
I
are you
worked,
talking about the 1975 film or are you talking about the later remake?
depends, when did the remake come out?
Uh, I don't know, a dozen years ago.
The one with Stallone, I guess. I don't
No, the one with
know.
Stallone is in 1975.
I
So is
guess
that the one you're talking about?
I didn't know there was a remake. Wait a minute.
Yeah, so the remake is just called Death Race. I think that's why.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, from
to
'08. Yeah, with Jason Statham.
Oh, no, 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 no. Statham was not in this. So it has
Okay.
to be this. It was old. Like it was
Yeah,
this.
yeah. It was David Carradine and Sylvester Stallone are in it.
So I worked back when I worked in retail, my store manager told me she couldn't believe that I never saw this racing movie or a movie called Clockwork Orange. So she brought in the DVDs and she lent them to me. She's like, "You have to see these movies. You have to watch them." I watched them. I liked Clockwork Orange, but I did not like the other movie. And I feel like I watched it again like on streaming a couple of years ago and I still did not like it. And both times, like I tuned out the first time when my manager let me borrow her DVD, and she wasn't disappointed. Like when I came back, I told her about how I mean, when I gave them back to her, I told her about how I liked Clockwork Orange, but not Death Race 2000. It's like one of her favorite movies. And then when I streamed it again, couple of years ago. I don't even remember making it to the end. I either fell asleep and then like woke up during one of the scenes, or I started doing something else like during the second time. So there were two attempts to enjoy this movie and it never happened. Nothing against Stallone. I don't know. But then I've never seen the Rocky movies either. But I imagine I would like them maybe
All right.
more than
Yeah, I got to
Death
jump in
Race.
here right away with two things. First of all, on the Rocky movies, you're going to want to see the Rocky movies.
Okay.
You really are. And you
And I've
start with
seen
the
none,
first,
like literally none of
see,
them, not
see the
even the new
first one, you'll
ones.
love it. It's, by the way, set in Philadelphia. So we have a theme for the show this week for sure. Guests and movies set in Philadelphia. Uh, and you're going to love the original Rocky. Death Race 2000, I can understand why it's not your cup of tea. However, this is the first one that I disagree with you on
Okay.
completely. I love Death Race 2000. It is cheesy 70s B movie perfection. It's the concept is ridiculous, that they were having this cross-country race and you score points by killing pedestrians on the road with your car. Uh, it's there was a video game in the late 70s, early 80s that was premised on this same sort of thing. And you'd race your cars around, and when you ran over a pedestrian, a little tombstone would show up,
Oh
and that's how you
my.
scored your points. It was, it's kind of a grim concept, and it is a goofy film. I mean,
Depends on who you're running over.
yeah, the cars are overdone, and it's cheesy as all heck, but that's to me what its charm is. Matthew, you have to have seen this movie because this is like it wasn't direct to video, but it could easily have been. Tell me
Yeah.
you've seen this movie.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I agree with you on it. I mean, I kind of saw it as this like dystopian real world, like dark twisted version of Wacky Races.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why I got a kick out of it. I mean, of course, I like David Carradine, like Stallone. I mean, it also has people like as Martin Kove from Karate Kid in it in a young role. But yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed this movie. I think just because it is such a like a goofy, twisted version of the future. It's almost kind of like what I liked in movies like RoboCop. This was doing it back then, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah, satirizing the culture and showing us where the dystopia is about to arrive because of our own desire to be entertained to death. All right, Matthew, your last choice. Give
Yes.
us
So
something that Cynthia Rothrock is going to kill us in.
yeah, so this last one is called China O'Brien, and I think it's kind of the character she's most known for. Though it's interesting because this is not one when people do top five lists, they don't always have this one number one. But the reason why I do is this is the movie that I was introduced to her through. I don't remember if I saw the trailer for this, like when I was a kid, I had friends who, I can say this because my parents didn't have one of these, but I had friends who had those Scrambler boxes, so they would
Oh
get all
yeah.
the pay channels. It was like a traffic circle in my hometown. The guy was selling them out of the back of his truck, and so I can't remember if it was on the pay-per-view channel that they were doing an ad for this, or if it was I rented another movie and the trailer was in there. But either way, I was introduced to her through that, and it's like kind of a version of Walking Tall. Again, also has Richard Norton in it, so he's back helping her out. But again, it's still her movie, even though you see this kind of this big hulking Australian in a Canadian tuxedo who looks like he can take care of business. You think like he's the guy. Also, a young Keith Cook. Keith Cook is another action direct-to-video action guy. He played Sub-Zero in the second Mortal Kombat movie. His real name I can't remember because he changed his name for acting. His real name is Keith Hirabayashi is actually what his real name is. But he went by Keith Cook, because his agent said that was probably a better name to go by. But yeah, so he's in it as well. So you get three really great martial artists, but she really leads this well. I mean, from an acting standpoint, she's still trying to get the hang of it because her dad's like the sheriff in this town, and he gets killed by some ne'er-do-well developers or something like that. And so then she comes in and takes over with her and Richard Norton and Keith Cook. They kind of help train the local populace in how to fight. But it showed how well she could lead a movie, that she had that kind of it factor to do that. And so this was a movie that introduced me to her and made me want to watch other movies of hers. The sequel to this, China O'Brien 2, is I remember the poster for that was like really iconic. That would be in video stores and things like that. So That's another good one as well. And the things I'm not sure where you can find this one because it was on streamers for a little bit, and then I think it got taken away or got put, taken down because it kind of comes back and forth. But I believe one of the major one of the boutique Blu-ray studios put out a Blu-ray version of both this and the sequel China O'Brien 2. So that means sometimes it makes its way onto streamers. But I think if you're able to find a copy of this, it's definitely worth checking out.
Cool. It is available on YouTube,
Yeah.
I think. And but if it's like you said, oh, Vinegar Syndrome has a copy of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
it's very recently that they put that out. So it's interesting. This is a movie that like I had to get on VHS when I started my site, and so it's for a movie that's as big as it is, and I think part of it is because it was a Hong Kong production. So I want to say Golden Harvest came here to the U.S. and produced made the movie here, and I think that might have to something to do with the fact that it doesn't have the kind of distribution that you get with her other movies where they're just always on streamers and things like that. But it does have that Vinegar Syndrome, which usually when that happens, yeah, Golden Harvest Company did once that happens, it seems like because Vinegar Syndrome and other ones like Severin, they like put their movies on Tubi as a way to sell them, which I think is a really great technique that people watch and go, oh, I want to own my own copy of this, and they'll go buy it.
well, that's a good way to sell something, I think. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you're giving it away for free." Yeah, but the people who want it
Yeah,
will want it, like we said, to own, to possess physical media. I'm one of those people.
yeah.
So I regularly buy things that have digital copies to them, and I'm glad to have the digital copy, but I sleep more securely knowing that it's on the shelf here and that nobody can take it away from me.
Yeah, yeah, and I think people get into it because they see like the version on Tubi and they're like, oh, I want to know more about it. And a lot of times these Blu-rays have
They
behind the
have
scenes features, things
extras,
like
yeah,
that.
That's the
Exactly.
best
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
all the good stuff. Which, by the way, old school stuff here. All that stuff started with laser discs.
yeah,
So once again, I get to champion my dead format
yeah,
because secondary tracks, special features, additional special stuff all got added to the laser discs before it was available anyplace else. They didn't have them on VHS tapes for the most part. The laser disc started that, and then when DVDs came along, that became their thing. So they'd done a great job with them, but like I said, old school. I'm going to fight for my laser disc still. I'm still buying them online. Jiminy Crickets, out of print for 40 years, but I got to get a copy of Slam Dance. All right. Well, my number one film is probably the least surprising of any of the ones on the list. I think it's De Palma's best film. It was his most successful uh, movie when it comes to quality. I'm not sure it's the most successful when it comes to money. I didn't look at the comparisons. Probably Mission Impossible made more money, but I'm talking about 1987's The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner, Robert De Niro, uh, and Sean Connery, and a whole bunch of other people. This is a movie that is incredibly watchable. It has three fantastic sequences in it that I think people should study in film schools. One of them, which came directly, as I'm sure, a result of De Palma seeing a different film in film school and said, "Hey, I think I can use this in a movie," and he does so successfully. The Untouchables is the story of Elliot Ness, the not the FBI guy, the Treasury agent who went after Al Capone back in the 1930s, and they successfully, in the long run, got him on income tax evasion. But of course, Capone was a gangster known for violently running his town, and De Niro plays Capone in this. He almost didn't. He had a conflict. They had hired Bob Hoskins to play Capone in the movie, and then De Niro became available. They paid Hoskins off. He made money. He got paid and didn't do one day of filming on the movie. So I think Hoskins would have been great, but De Niro, of course, he chose the scenery just right in this movie. He's playing a big out of outsized character that's going on here. This is the film that Sean Connery won his Academy Award for, playing Jimmy Malone, the beat cop who joins with Elliot Ness in his group to take down the Capone organization. The film features Charlie Martin Smith, who is a terrific actor, probably best known as Terry the Toad in American Graffiti, but he's also been in a bucket of other things. He was in a terrific movie called Never Cry Wolf, and he's one of the co-stars of Starman with Jeff Bridges. And he's a good actor, and he's got a great fun part in it. He steals every scene that he's in. And Andy Garcia is in this in an early film role, and he's pretty solid too. But the scenes that make this movie, there's a scene where there's a raid on a bootlegging operation. They're bringing in trucks full of Canadian whiskey into the U.S., and they're crossing a bridge that crosses over a river that separates Canada and the U.S. And it's like a Western mixed with a gangster film, because there are horses and trucks and machine guns and shotguns and whiskey that's being spilled all over the place. And De Palma stages it like it's an old Western movie, and it's got a great payoff at the end sequence when Jimmy Malone, played by Sean Connery, interrogates one of the guys that they've captured, trying to get a hold of the information that's going to turn Capone turn over on Capone. And it's one of the reasons that people think of Chicago as a tough place. The scene that is inspired by film school is the scene in the train station when Kevin Costner and Andy Garcia go to the train station trying to intercept the bookkeeper for Al Capone, who is being shuttled out of town quickly. And it takes place on a staircase leading down into the train station. And there are moments inspired by the battleship Potemkin, the film from the Soviet Union back in the day, in the early, what was that, 1920s, I think. And but the steps sequence in the battleship Potemkin is clearly an inspiration for what takes place here. It's a slow motion scene, so you get a chance to see everything, how intricate it is. It looks fantastic. It is incredibly well staged. It's probably De Palma's finest moment on screen when it comes to, you know, creating tension and getting the audience involved and carrying it and being completely clear about what is happening, while at the same time showing it in a spectacular way. And then there's one final chase sequence that takes place during the Capone trial when Kevin Costner's character, Elliot Ness, is chasing um, Frank Nitti, Capone's second in command, across the roof of the courthouse. And there's a shootout there. And it ends with one of the best lines in a movie. It's incredibly ironic and funny and cruel at the same time, and it's a terrific moment. This movie looks fantastic. It has a score from Ennio Morricone that is to die for. Uh, I can watch this movie. I literally have seen this movie 50 times. I don't doubt that I've seen it that often, but I've seen it on the big screen every year for the last 4 years, and I saw it just last week, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I love The Untouchables.
I heard of this movie before, but it's among the many De Palma films that I've never seen before. Although this is one that I would be excited to watch.
Oh, I think you'll like this. This is not one that is hard to get into. It's not a psychosexual drama. It's it's a straight, you know, cops and robbers kind of film with some great action sequences in it. And the good guys and the bad guys are very clear. There's nothing ambiguous about what's going on. Uh, there's not a great deal of fidelity to the real story. There's a little bit of connection there because they did actually get Capone on income tax evasion, and Elliot Ness was in charge of a group called the Untouchables. But it's inspired by a TV series from the late 50s, early 60s,
Hmm.
more than the actual events.
Yeah, I might watch this week when I'm
It's a good
when I
choice.
have a moment.
Well,
Yeah,
All
this
right.
folks,
Oh, I was
Go
going to say
ahead,
this is
Matthew.
definitely one that I've seen quite a bit as well. And I'll say, I mean, I absolutely did, echo everything that you said here. She used to be on TV a lot. My friends and I would watch it a lot, or someone would have a VHS that we would burn out. So this is definitely one that got a lot of rewatches. And I'll quickly say another Philadelphia connection. Al Capone served time here at Eastern State Penitentiary, which I've never done. I've never done that tour, but there is you can go on tours for it. It's like
I have.
you
I've been there when I was hosting a friend that came in out of town. They were taking a photography class,
oh.
and we just went and took that tour just to give them, something to do. And I felt weird in that even though I live here, I've never been to Eastern State. It's such a touristy thing. I don't go there, I walk past it, on my day to day, but
Yeah, yeah. There used to be a
I'll
bookstore across the street that just closed recently, I think. And so I'd been to the bookstore and seen it from outside across the street. But
so they have his like cell.
oh, so you can go see the cell that he had stayed in.
I think
That makes
it's been
sense.
a long time since I've been there. I don't know if they, change things around or what have you, but we were able to see like some cells of some uh famous folks that got locked up.
Monsters and criminals and other reprobates.
Yes. The Untouchable sounds like a cool movie. And based on, what you and Matt, how the frequency, I'll say it, of which you and Matt have watched this movie, it seems like it's one of those films that are like very rewatchable. Like,
Yes,
like you
yes.
could,
It's
like it never gets old, like
very
ever.
accessible, very accessible, easy to watch on repeat. There's just a lot of good stuff in it, and it's a fun film. There are a couple of tough sequences. Uh, Nobody's getting their eye gouged out, but there is a baseball bat used viciously at one point, and let's face it, when machine guns are pointed at human body, bad things happen. But it's not overly violent. It just has a couple of sequences of, well, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of shooting. A lot of people die. So I won't say that it's not overly violent, but it's not the kind of violence that you get in a horror film. And like I said, it's very accessible. Nicole, you could watch it today and have a wonderful time, not worry about it. You
I'm
should go do that.
glad to know that it's on I just typed it on my watch list as a
Excellent.
reminder in my notes. And Matt, I also looked up the penitentiary. They do have his cell like outfitted with like things or what have. It is part of the, I
I
guess, the
can see that
tour.
I'm going to be going to that website for the video version of the podcast.
Yes.
Good deal. All right. Well, those are our lists, folks. I hope you found something interesting to look into and spend some time with. We were Philadelphia heavy this week, but we also had some great themes that people were talking about. A little controversy here and there, although I'm not sure that anybody would say that we were arguing about anything. We had a lot of support for everybody else's choices. We're going to take a quick break here to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back for our exit question of the week.
Hey, Andy.
Hey, Todd.
Movies are getting really long these days.
I know, they're all over 2 hours.
Do you know what I think is the perfect length for a film?
Maybe 90 minutes?
I was thinking more like 7 minutes.
Right. And they should cast more of the great classic actors of yesteryear.
Like Al Pacino or Meryl Streep.
I was thinking more Mickey Mouse or Popeye.
Or Daffy Duck.
Greatest movie star of all time.
I wish there was somewhere we could talk more about those bygone days when cartoons played in movie theaters.
Well, now there is, Todd.
There is?
Yes, Cartoon Breakdown, the podcast where we discuss the golden age of animation.
In each episode, we'll take a handful of classic animated shorts from Warner Brothers, Disney, MGM, and all those other studios and break them down.
We'll look at the characters, the directors, voice artists, animators, and of course, all the great gags that make these films so much fun to revisit.
Cartoon Breakdown is part of the Rabbit Hole Podcasting Network, which can be found at rabbitholepodcast.com or listen anywhere you get your podcasts.
Hey, shouldn't that be Rabbit Hole Podcasts?
Now, I'm looking at it here. It definitely says rabbit.
But it's Wabbit season.
Duck season.
Wabbit season.
Duck season.
Wabbit season.
Duck season.
We're back, and it's time for the exit question of the week. You know, the movie theaters these days are filling up with people who are lined up for Spider-Man Brand New Day or The Odyssey, and both of those films have been dominating IMAX screens, and a lot of people are drawn to the theaters these days. At least that's what the theater companies think, by the technological innovations that they've put into theaters. So I was just wondering for our guests today how they felt about that. So the exit question is basically this. How much do the theater tech additions influence your choice of when and where to see a film, if at all? And we're talking about the IMAX, the 3D, the Atmos, the D-Box screenings, any of those kinds of things. Is that what brings you to a movie? And if so, what kind of films do you try to see in those circumstances? Matthew, I'm going to ask you to start because it sounds like most of the time you're spending at home on your videos, but I'm sure you get to the movies occasionally. Do you pick a movie because it's in IMAX or because you get a chance to listen to it in Atmos?
No, actually, for me, it's actually more about what time the movie's playing. Because I'm fitting these movies in with like my general like running errands and things like that. And so, but one of the things that's interesting is the last couple of times that I was on the Lambcast when we talked about The Mandalorian and Mortal Kombat 2, I had to see what AMC calls their Prime version of the movie because that was the earliest time I could go see it. So it was extra money. It was like about $18, I think was the ticket or something like that. And it definitely enhanced the viewing. I would say, especially Mortal Kombat 2, I probably like that movie better than I would have if I had just seen it in the regular version. But it is one of those things where I'm trying to kind of get in as early as I can, get out, have the rest of my day to run errands and whatnot, but also get out as cheaply as I can. I would almost rather spend the extra money on popcorn and sodas and things like that than the experience. That said, I do, I remember seeing Attack of the Clones on IMAX at the aquarium in Boston and really enjoying that experience. So I probably should do more of that. I think it's just, the times are not always good for me, the expense of it. And also, yeah, just even if the theaters necessarily, like I think the theaters that I go to, I don't even know where the nearest IMAX is here in Philadelphia because it's, I don't think the AMC has.
We don't have one.
We don't, okay. Because we used to
in
be.
King of Prussia.
Okay, so that also explains it that I don't get out because King of Prussia is quite a hike. So that's another reason why I probably don't see them as much. I think the one in South Philly here used to have IMAX, but it's no longer, it's been closed for a while.
Riverview.
Yeah. So that's another reason for me as well. So yeah, I'm more about like the timing, what kind of concessions. The other thing that I would really like is an intermission. If especially these 3-hour movies. I went and saw Lawrence of Arabia at the South Philly Theater here in 2019, and that intermission was fantastic. And of course, they couldn't get around the intermission; they had to do it. So I almost rather those kind of things. But again, that said, the times that I have done the enhanced versions, I did enjoy the movies more. So maybe I should do more of that.
All right. Like I said, I don't want to be a shill for AMC, but they have a program called the Stubs program, and AMC A-List is a monthly fee that you pay, and I can see 4 films a week of any form. So if it's like the AMC Prime, 3D, IMAX, Atmos, any of those kinds of things, your membership in the A-List gets you into those, and you can see up to 4 films a week. And it's a good deal. It's $30 a month. And if you're paying $18 to see a movie and you go twice during the month, you'd be saving $6 by having the membership. But like I said, I've had the programming at Alamo is the best. The theater experience at Cinemark is the best, but the best loyalty program and the best website is AMC from my point of view. And By the way, that's going to be one of my answers is the website that you're having to use. So we'll get to that in just a second. Nicole, how about you? Are you influenced by any of these kinds of things?
Uh, no, I am not. Although I will say if if I had more options to see a movie in the IMAX, such as The Odyssey, for example, I would have opted for the IMAX version just to have that experience, given that Nolan deliberately shot the film um on what was it, 70
70 millimeter
millimeter,
IMAX,
yeah, or
yeah.
something like that. So I would have preferred that. I think there's a disconnect in the exhibition industry where there are tech additions that are made, but they're not rolled out across a large portion of the country. So even though these things are available, the majority of moviegoers aren't able to see them because they're only at a few theaters. Now, that takes me back to the whole situation with Oppenheimer and the Mission Impossible. Or was it Mission or the other Tom Cruise movie where he was like the Navy, the flyer
Top
overhead?
Gun Maverick.
Yeah, Top Gun. I think it was like Top Gun, probably, or Mission into Pop. One of those Tom Cruise movies were out when Oppenheimer came out, and then when Oppenheimer was released, it pushed Tom Cruise's movie out of the IMAX theaters, which was unfair. So I I say all that to say that like if there was an IMAX version, IMAX theater near me this summer, I would have gone to that theater to see the Odyssey. But I would not go just to see, say, like the Barbie movie, for example, or like a drama or something like that. I would only go to like an IMAX theater if I was watching a movie that had a lot of special effects or really big
One of
action
those
packed.
tentpole kind of movies, yeah.
Yeah, the big ones. That's the only time. I do watch like 3D. If 3D is an option, I'll watch it for like an animated movie or a movie that might warrant that particular experience. Besides that, it's just all standard for me, unless there's a theater with like something else where it's like it's not IMAX, but it's still like an enhanced thing, which is what I experienced with when I went to see the Odyssey this summer. One of the theaters that I went to, they had like a standard version, and then they had another one called like Super Screen or something like that.
Right,
So that's the one that I saw where like, that was good for me. Like it's not IMAX, but it's still better than
right.
like your standard thing. But I'm like Matt too. I like to spend my money on snacks. So,
Well, I was going to
so
say, Matthew mentioned the one thing that is most critical for me in deciding what movie to see and where, and that's what time does it start? Does it fit into the schedule? Uh, I see movies with my daughter, and she works until 5 in the afternoon, and we have to see something that starts before 8. Because if we're going after 8, that means that the movie doesn't start until 8:30. And nowadays they're 2.5, 3 hour movies. That means we're not done until after 11 o'clock. And I get up early in the morning. The dog needs to go out at 6:30 in the morning, and she goes to work. And so it's like we're looking for a window that works for us. So we need something that starts. Ideally, it would start at 6 o'clock. There aren't a lot of movies that start at 6 o'clock. It just doesn't work out that well. So that's the prime decision making for me. I do like seeing a movie on IMAX when it's available. Uh, but I'm not sure that other than like Nicole, you just said, a film like The Odyssey or the one that I just saw that I can't remember if that's playing in theaters right now. Too many crickets.
Was it Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Spider-Man. Thank you.
no worries. I just saw it yesterday. That's why it's on my mind.
Yeah,
So
no, it's like ridiculous. Uh, I did, I do appreciate it when something shows up that is a little bit of a bonus. So, for example, we did see the Odyssey a second time at an IMAX theater that is at the museum, and they don't do all the movies there. It's not like it's a regular theater that runs movies all day long for a regular engagement, but they do those screenings when they have something special like that. So we went to see Odyssey. The bonus that we got was there was a trailer for Dune 3 that hadn't been out yet. So we got a
Ooh.
little special preview on that, which was nice. So it's nice when there's a little bit of extra value. But like the D-Box thing, have you guys been to one of those theaters where the chair shakes and rattles and rolls while you're watching the movie?
no.
Like being on a roller
No,
coaster? Yeah,
I
no,
have not.
it's like when there's a car chase, you're in the car with them. The chair is moving around and shaking, and when the gunshot off, you feel it in your bottom.
That's
I
interesting.
it is interesting. I don't think it's necessary. It's never been a reason for me to go see a movie, but I have sat in those seats two or three times and thought, this is more than is necessary. It's just kind of silly. And the other big determining factor is what kind of soda they have. If they don't have Coke Zero, I don't want to be going to that theater. If they have Pepsi products, I can just skip it. I'm not going to that theater. I'll wait and see the movie someplace else because I'm picky about my soda.
I love that AMC has the Coke Freestyle machine. And one of the things I was
Yes,
disappointed in when I went to go see Spider-Man is I usually get whatever the kind of
the
I think
special,
the special, because I think we talked about this when I was on for Mortal Kombat 2, that I got the Devil Wears Prada soda mix
right?
for that one. Yeah, I always liked that. I was disappointed because I think Spider-Man has a deal with Poppy, and so they didn't have a Spider-Man themed soda when I went yesterday. So I was disappointed in that, but I do like that I think I got like pineapple Sprite, so I could try different kinds of soda with the
Oh, that
freestyle
sounds
machine.
good.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I have
Yeah,
a
no, I like the freestyle machines. Nicole, you started to say something. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No worries, no worries. I'm all for the soda, the good sodas. Um, I have a bone to pick with AMC, so I'm I considered the Stubs program years ago, but like based on my experience in recent years, I haven't been there. I actually forgot to mention this when we did the Odyssey episode, but it slipped my mind. When I went to see the Odyssey, I pulled out two guest readmission passes that I received
Oh yeah.
when they kicked me out when they kicked me out of the inside out screening when people after people were pulling like the fire alarms, and I never used them. So I said, oh well, I'll just that will determine where I go to see the Odyssey, right? I'll go to AMC so I can use these passes that they gave me. And I learned before I left before I left my front door that they expired in October. So because of that, I ended up seeing the Odyssey at another theater, which worked out though because that theater serves like food. It's one of those like dine-in
Dine
theaters
in.
from a completely separate chain. Um, but I haven't really been to an AMC much ever since that that Inside Out experience and another experience that I had. So I've been deliberately trying to see movies at other theaters. And in addition to the snacks, uh the environment is a big factor for me in
Yeah.
terms of like where I see a movie. Uh, the time I can kind of work around that, but I think about the audience that the theater is attracting for the particular movie that I'm going to see. So based on the movie and the theater, I'm like, okay, do I want to deal with people bringing their small children into an R-rated movie? Do I want to deal with? No, I
12-year-olds
don't.
running
So,
around playing some
yeah.
internet game.
And so it's like, oh no, I don't. I don't. I'm gonna go to this other theater over here where they don't really deal with that too much. So
Well, I hope that somebody in Hollywood and especially in the distribution field is listening to this episode of the Lambcast and knows a little bit more about how to attract good customers to your theaters as a result of listening to our conversation here. I want to give you guys a chance to promote anything. I know, Nicole, you're not active on social media right now. Do you have anything that you want people to turn their eyes and ears to?
yes, I do. A
Okay, good.
movie that I want to see. Since I haven't been active, I found out about a week ago that there's a Girl Scouts movie that's out, and it appears to be under a limited run, which I don't like because then that means it's going to be hard for me to see it. But it looks like it's available at AMC and Regal theaters. Um, but it's only available for like a week or so far. So it's called Cookie Queens, and from what I've read, it appears that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry produced this movie. Uh, it follows like a group of Girl Scouts in another country, I think, I don't know. But they have to sell cookies, and it just follows like I guess the ups and downs that the different girls go through in trying to meet their goals for like the amount of money that they want to, I guess, earn, or the amount of boxes of cookies that they want to sell. And one of the girls in the movie is trying to either meet or beat like her sister's goals. So she has an older sister who was like a top Girl Scout or something like that. And now it's like her turn. I'm not familiar with all of the order of the levels, but she's probably like a brownie or something, but she's coming into her Girl Scout experience or whatever. So I thought it was it seems like a cute movie about like girlhood and whatnot. And as someone with a huge sweet tooth who buys way too many Girl Scout cookies, so much so that I now have a box of Thin Mints and a box of the shortbread cookies on my desk that I'm probably going to have to throw away because they either expired or are about to expire. Um, it was a
Girl Scout cookie
movie.
sales are usually in February, so this is 6 months later.
Yeah, so I forgot that I had them. Like I had them delivered to different locations, and one of the locations that I sent a box to has those two boxes sitting there. I'm kicking myself, but hey, whatever, whatever. But so
Well, we're
yeah,
happy to promote Cookie Queens.
Cookie Queens.
All right. Good deal. Matthew, what have you got going on Direct to Video Connoisseur?
Yeah, so the site is where you can kind of find links to everything. That's dtvconnoisseur.blogspot.com. So that has links to the podcast. Podcast recently, we've been looking at, both, action movies, erotic thrillers, Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, but also an upcoming episode features a vanity director named Neil Breen, a movie called Fateful Findings. So this is kind of a level of direct-to-video movie that not many people want to go to, and it's kind of my first time doing it. I have a guest on, Mitch, from a site called the Video Vacuum, so that's one to keep an eye out for. And then also my most recent novel, Mark and Sales, is available. You can buy it on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, and paperback. The link to that is also on my site. Follows Mark, who's really good at selling cut rate health insurance, but then he starts to see, one, the effect it has on his family because he's not around a lot for them, but also the effect it has on the employees whose companies are buying this bad health insurance, as they're losing providers, having to pay for services that normally didn't cost that much before. So he starts to question whether he should keep doing this job, and then the company offers him the promotion he's always wanted. So he's got this dilemma that he has to face there. So that's called Mark and Sales. You can check that out. And also, we've got a collection of flash fiction I'm going to try to have out in the next month or so called Boston Stories Volume 1. So it's kind of this irreverent character in Boston who's kind of gets into all kinds of different adventures with his Norwegian companion Mads. So that's hopefully in the next month or so, Boston Stories Volume 1.
Cool. All right. Well, as usual on my site, I'm just doing the best I can to keep up on the stuff that I've seen. I had a dump yesterday of 3 or 4 films that I saw in the last month. I'm still trying to catch up. I've got 3 more to do. And of course, I'm going to another film this afternoon, so this evening. So I need to be a little bit more up on this, but don't worry, don't watch the news. It's too depressing.
Agreed.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you. I want to thank both of you for joining me. I loved your lists. I enjoyed talking about them very much. Hopefully somebody listening has found some inspiration for something to see, or in Nicole's case, maybe something to reevaluate and see whether or not maybe Nicole really has a point there. Anyway, regardless, it's a good scream. It's a good scream. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.
Ha 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 ha